June 17, 2025. Final minute. Indiana Fever leading by 17 points. Sophie Cunningham sees Jacy Sheldon driving to the basket one more time, and something inside her snaps. What happens next isn't just a flagrant foul. It's pure calculated justice that had been building for months. This is how Sophie Cunningham became Caitlin Clark's enforcer. The tension between Clark and Sheldon didn't start in the WNBA. These two have been going at each other since their college days when Clark dominated for Iowa and Sheldon played the villain for Ohio State. Sheldon made it her personal mission to get under Clark's skin every single time they faced off. She would shadow Clark everywhere, throw illegal screens, talk trash during dead balls, and play with aggression that crossed the line from competitive to dangerous. When both entered the WNBA, that college animosity followed them straight to the professional level. Everything changed during their previous matchup in May. The Connecticut Sun came into Indiana with a game plan that had nothing to do with basketball and everything to do with intimidation. Sheldon was at the center of not one, but two separate plays that left Fever players injured. First, Sophie Cunningham went down with what looked like a deliberate hit. Then, Sydney Colson got hurt when Sheldon dove recklessly through her knee, twisting Colson's leg in an unnatural position that had everyone wincing. Both injuries had one thing in common: Jacy Sheldon was directly involved. The officials let everything slide like they were watching a completely different game. Hard fouls went uncalled, dangerous plays got ignored, and Clark had to watch her teammates get targeted while the perpetrator walked around like nothing happened. The Fever lost that game 85-83, but more importantly, they lost two key players to preventable injuries. You could see it in Clark's eyes during the handshake line, the way she looked at Sheldon, the way she answered post-game questions. This wasn't over. The Fever would remember that game, remember who caused the injuries, and remember that officials allowed it all to happen without consequences. June 17th arrives, and Clark is back from her quad injury, fresh off a dominant win against the undefeated New York Liberty. Walking onto the court for the Connecticut rematch, you can tell she remembers exactly what happened last time. This isn't just another game. This is personal, and everyone in Gainbridge Fieldhouse can feel the electricity. The game starts with familiar tension. Sheldon is guarding Clark like her career depends on it, using the same aggressive tactics that hurt Cunningham and Colson in May. She's bumping Clark on every screen, shadowing her on every possession, doing all the little dirty things that make basketball ugly. Everyone knows what's coming. Third quarter hits, and the moment that changes everything arrives. Clark is bringing the ball up court when Sheldon comes over to defend. She goes for what looks like a steal attempt, but her finger goes straight into Clark's eye. The contact is immediate and obvious. Clark's head snaps back as she grabs her face in pain. This wasn't an accident. Clark does what any competitor would do. She pushes Sheldon away after getting poked in the eye. It's a natural human reaction. The crowd erupts because everyone saw what happened. But the referees are about to make everything worse. They hit Clark with a technical foul for pushing back after getting eye poked. A technical foul for defending herself. The decision makes no sense to anyone watching. But the eye poke was just the beginning. Marina Mabrey was watching from across the court, and she was about to escalate everything. Right after Clark gets that bogus technical, Mabrey decides to take matters into her own hands. She body checks Clark like this is hockey instead of basketball, sending her tumbling backward onto the court. The hit is so obvious and unnecessary that even casual fans can see what happened. This isn't basketball contact. This is assault. Clark hits the floor hard, shock on her face, as she realizes another Sun player just took a cheap shot. The entire Fever bench jumps up because they just watched their star get targeted right in front of the referees. Coach Stephanie White is losing her mind on the sideline, screaming at officials who somehow aren't seeing what's happening right in front of them. After reviewing the play for 15 minutes, the refs give Mabrey just a common technical foul, the same penalty they gave Clark for defending herself. Clark gets eye poked and pushes the player away. technical foul. Mabry body checks Clark to the ground. Same technical foul. The math doesn't add up. White goes off in the post-game conference because she's had enough of watching her players get targeted while officials do nothing. When officials don't control the game and allow this stuff to happen all season long, competitive women, who are the best in the world, are going to have their teammates' backs. The message becomes crystal clear. Officials aren't going to protect Clark, so her teammates will have to do it themselves. Sophie Cunningham has been watching all this unfold from the bench, and she's about to make sure everyone understands that nobody messes with her teammate. Final minute. Fever up big, that 88-71, and Cunningham sees Sheldon with the ball one more time. The clock is ticking down, but Cunningham isn't thinking about the score. She's thinking about May 30th, when she got hurt. She's thinking about watching Clark get eye-poked with no consequences. She's thinking about Mabry body-checking her teammate while officials handed out matching technicals. Cunningham remembers her own injury from that brutal May game. She remembers sitting on the bench hurt while Sheldon walked around like nothing happened. Now, Sheldon is driving to the basket and Cunningham sees her chance for justice. What happens next is the most satisfying flagrant foul you'll ever see. Cunningham lines up Sheldon and delivers a perfectly calculated message. She wraps her up hard and pulls her down in a bear hug that's clearly intentional. This wasn't a basketball play. This was payback. This was justice. This was Sophie Cunningham sending a crystal clear message that nobody messes with her teammates. The beautiful part about Cunningham's foul is that it was hard enough to send a message, but controlled enough to avoid actually injuring Sheldon. She wasn't trying to hurt anyone. She was making it known that if refs won't handle business, players will. The officials assess Cunningham a flagrant 2, leading to automatic ejection. Sheldon and Lindsay Allen also get tossed for their involvement in the scuffle afterward. 3 players ejected, but the damage is done. Justice finally got served, and everyone knows it. Indiana Fever fans start chanting "Sophie, Sophie" as she walks off the court. Her jersey's going to sell out tonight. She's probably getting voted into the All-Star game just from this play because she was standing on business. It wasn't dirty. It was intentional, meant to send a message that came through loud and clear. Clark finishes with 20 points and 6 assists, leading the Fever to an 88-71 victory that feels like so much more than a win. This wasn't just beating the Sun. This was the Fever proving they won't be bullied and they protect their own. The victory sends them to their first Commissioner's Cup final. But more importantly, it sends a message to the entire league. The Fever got their revenge after that brutal May loss. Clark got her justice after getting eye-poked and body-checked. Sophie Cunningham became a hero for standing up when it mattered most. Sometimes officials won't protect you, but teammates always will. That's exactly what happened when the Indiana. This game proved the Fever aren't just talented, they're a family that fights for each other. When officials won't protect their players, teammates, like Sophie Cunningham, step up and handle business themselves. That's what real loyalty looks like in professional sports. Remember this moment when people say loyalty doesn't matter? Sophie Cunningham just proved them wrong.